Hi guys, this is Mia from Mimo Design Laser Files, and today I'll show you how to make this type of ornament in LightBurn. So in this tutorial I'll teach you how to make an ornament shape. This is a framed ornament, and if you think these sides are too skinny looking, you can make these exactly as you want, and I'll give you the tools on how, so you can make it as you prefer. The tools I'll be teaching you is the ornaments and how to make regular text connected, and also how you attach these little dots on the eye. I will teach you how to score the front and ends into your frame, and also choose another font and connect it to the other, welded to the other, and make the bottom one engraved. This might not be the finished product that you want, but the tools are very versatile, and I guarantee that you will be taught something. You could also add some snowflakes or a snowman or everything else. So you can customize these however you want. If you're making anything from my videos, please hashtag them with Mimo Helps, and I'll be forever grateful to see your projects. But let's show you how to design. So first thing first, you want to open up LightBurn. Once you've opened LightBurn, I'll start by teaching you how to make the actual ornament. So you grab your ellipse tool here, and if you hold down your shift key, that's the arrow up key, you can create a perfect circle while you drag it. If you don't hold it down, you'll make ovals and stuff, but as you see, as soon as I hit shift, it will create a perfect circle. So let's delete this one. Once you have your circle, you want to pick the size of it. I'm always making mine in millimeters since I'm Danish, and I want this to be 10 centimeters, which is almost 4 inches. That's the size I usually do. So I want to make a hanger part. So again, I'll make a circle, and I'll make this 5 millimeter, and that's almost 0.2 inches. To create the outer part, I want to make an offset. So I'll make an outward offset. And I usually make these around 2, which is 2 millimeter. I'll not be converting everything to inches, so feel free to convert it yourself. I think you see what I mean with this. So I'll drag my cursor over these 2 circles, so I'm marking both of them. Then I'll hold down my control key or command key for those of you that use a Mac. I'm using a Windows operated laptop. And then I'm going to these stacked boxes, align selected objects vertically, and I'm aligning V-center. So you can decide how close you want this circle to be, or this hole. I'll just add mine here, and I'll pick the outer circle as well as the inner part, and I'll hit weld all selected shapes together. And I now have my ornaments. So to create the inner ring, I actually want to wait by welding these together, and I'll start by making the inner circle. So once again, I'm using offset shapes but instead of doing an outward, I'm doing an inward offset. And I might do 5 millimeters on this one. And now I actually think I'll do a little more on the hanger part, so let's make it 3 instead, 3 millimeters. And I'll delete this one. So I want to squeeze this a little bit down and weld it. It's entirely up to you how you want your ornament to look like. You could also do this for a sign or something else. But now I have a frame, an ornament frame, and it's time to add in the name. So I will pick my font tool and I'll choose a font that I want to use. I have a bunch of fonts, but for Mimo design I want a regular font, and I really like this one, Magila Display. I could do like this so you can see the name. So this is the font that I'm using for the Mimo design. So let's type in Mimo design. And I'll make the size similar to my ornaments, but not too big, because as you see, this is not connected right now. I have space between all the letters. So an easy way to minimize the space is to go to H space, and you can then make them smaller by making this one negative. I don't want to do it too much because you can see that I do have space between this S and the I, but if I keep doing this, you can see that it will be compressed very much, and I don't want that. So make it negative until you think that it looks okay, and I'll teach you what to do next. So I want to make this a little larger. And this is now text that I can go in and edit if I want. I could make an S or something else. But in order to move my letters, I need it to be kind of an SVG. So I'll hit Weld all selected shapes together, and it's now an SVG. If I ungroup, I'll not be able to edit any of my text now, but I can edit the SVG. So I'll pick this last IGN, hit group. I'm using hotkeys, control group, but you could right click and pick group, ungroup here. So let's move it just a tiny bit. So if I'm holding down control and using my arrow keys, it will move it, but I don't want it to move this much. So I'll just kind of carefully drag it to where I want it to be. And I think that this might be okay. So the dot of the I will also be cut loose. So once again, I'll ungroup. This one was ungrouped already. And since I have two eyes, I'll just mark both of them. I'll once again hold down my control key, use my arrow keys on my keyboard, and go to the right, go down, and this doesn't look great, so I'll manually drag them, and I might even, I think I'll make an offset first just to make these a little bigger. So I'll make an offset at 0.2, pick delete original, and I can now move these in place. So I think that would look okay. So once I'm satisfied with how my composition looks, I'll take my mouse and hold down my mouse button and mark everything. And then I want to hit weld again, and my text is now welded. It's obviously still 2 parts, but that's okay because I want to add a laser files that will be overlapping down the bottom. To make sure that this is not too fragile when I'm cutting, I'll make an offset on everything. So again, I'll choose offset, and for offsets on text, I like to actually do 0.2. So I'll pick delete objects, and you could choose round, bevel, corner if you want. For text, I always choose round. So you can now see how this one is way bigger than the first. And you could manipulate it because I actually don't want this IGN to be this close, but that's okay. This is a tutorial video just to show you how. So I'm now going to add laser files, and I want another font for this one. So I'll go in and find a cursive font that I like. And I really like, let's see if I can find it. Let's try Snow White's. No. Picking out fonts is actually what takes the most time, for me anyway. Let's try, Stayola might be good. So I want to remove this H space because for cursive fonts it will make it look messy. So I now have a laser files, and I'll enlarge it and maybe even drag it just a little. Make sure that I don't lose any details. And I'll place it where I think it would look great. So I need to attach this L. So once again, I'll hit weld and ungroup. And I'll move this L a little closer to laser files or laser files. Hit weld, and everything is now connected besides this little eye. But I don't worry about that because it will be connected to my other text. So now that I have this, I want to cut it but still engrave this part. So for colors, I always use black for cutting, I use red for engraving, and I use blue for scoring. So I'm actually making this one red, so I know that this is the engraved text, and I now want to make an offset. So I want this offset to be maybe around 0.5, and instead of choosing everything, I'll just hit outer shapes only, and I'll not delete the original, but I will pick this outer shape that I just made, and I will weld it to this text, and this is somehow what it now looks like. So maybe I even should have kept the inner parts. I think I will. So let's do the offset one more time. And instead of picking outer shapes, I'll just turn it off. And now I will have cut marks through the laser files text. So again, I'm going to weld it. I actually have to ungroup because I only want to weld this outer part. Like that. And I can now mark everything and make this black, so this will be cut. So to show you how this will now look like, I'll show you another little trick. Because right now you see that even though I have fill turned on, my fill color is still lines. And that's because if you go to window, you can pick between wireframe or fills. If I pick fills, you can now see what the engraving will look like. But when you design, I really like to just use the wireframe. So I now have my text, I have my ornaments, and it's time to weld this ornament to the text, or actually opposite way. I think I'll add the font name, Staiola, as well, just for your reference. So these are the two fonts that I use, but you can do this for any font. So now that I have my text, I actually want to pick the text, pick the inner circle and hit the line. So it's now perfectly centered. And actually it isn't really, because I do see that for some reason the M was closer to the edge than the N was. So I just moved it a little manually. And I'll go in now where I have my text as I want it to be. And I'll ungroup everything. So I might have to do it a couple of times. Everything is now ungrouped. So I'm going to now duplicate, and you can use Ctrl D, or you can right click your mouse and hit duplicate. I'm also going to duplicate this inner circle like this. I want this part of the N and the M to be scored on the actual frame. So one easy way to do that, because I just duplicated it, as you see, I'll make it blue, which is my score color. And to cut this out, I can pick the text, only the blue one, and I already had my inner part here duplicated. So I'm holding down my Control key, picking this inner round, and I can now go to Tools, and short keys are Alt Shift plus C or Command Alt Shift C if you're on a MacBook. And when I hit Cut Shapes, you can see that this part is now cut loose. So before doing anything, I want to group this. So I'll hold down Control G, and it's now grouped. So the inner blue part here I don't want, so I'll just hit backslash and it's now erased. Now I want to weld my cut text to the inner frame, so I'll pick the outer part of the text, pick the inner part, and I can't hit weld right now. Why can't I do that? It's because I grouped it with the blue. So I'll just ungroup again. And then I'll pick this. And let's see if this will do. It will not. So let's show you an easy way to find out which of these Boolean functions you want to use. Because once you have these, you can actually go to Boolean Assistant or hit Control B, Command B, and you'll get this little window popping up. So if I choose union A or B, it will look like this. If I choose intersection, it will look like this. Subtract is what I want, A to B. Had I chosen B to A, it would look like this. So once you see which version you want, you click it and hit OK. So right now my ornament is actually finished. I can go in and hold down Control G and it's now grouped. So if I move this to my cut area, and that's another thing that I want to tell you, because I always design my files outside my work area, because then I can move it over as soon as I'm done and ready for it to cut. So let's see, this is how it will look like once it's cut. So everything will be cut besides this N and M part, which will be scored, and then I'll have laser files engraved in the middle. If you like to watch this tutorial, please subscribe and give it a like. And I would be very grateful if you want to hashtag with, let's see, where's my hashtag? There you go, Mimo Health. If you make a project from my tutorials, because then I can see what you learned and I'll be so grateful to see your results. So thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you soon.